But the shocking truth is that one of these ordinary-looking 1994 D Lincoln pennies could make you a millionaire overnight. If you know what to look for. It all began in Denver, 1994. The U.S. Mint was operating at full speed, cranking out billions of Lincoln pennies. To most people, these coins were nothing special, just another day, another cent. But deep inside that massive minting operation, a few coins came out unlike any other. They weren't meant to exist. They were the result of something mysterious, something almost supernatural in the coin world. A minting error so rare that collectors would one day call it the $1,000,000 penny. Now, before we dive deeper, I want you to picture this: a man in Colorado, sorting through change at his kitchen table. He's not a collector, not an expert. He's just counting coins to roll up for the bank. Then, one penny catches his eye. The color is slightly different, the strike a little off. He almost dismisses it, almost. But curiosity wins. He flips it under a cheap magnifying glass and sees something strange. The D mint mark seems doubled, distorted, almost shadowed. He doesn't know it yet, but he's holding one of the rarest mistakes in modern minting history. The 1994 D Lincoln penny that can be worth over $1,000,000 isn't just rare, it's an anomaly. It's a coin where the minting process went slightly haywire. The die, that's the metal stamp that presses the design into each coin, somehow shifted or was struck twice, creating what collectors call a double die or overstrike. On this penny, the most obvious clue lies in the date, 1994, and the D mint mark. If you look closely, you might see a faint doubling effect, a shadowed line, or even an extra thickness in the numbers or letters. Take a moment and imagine finding that. 1 second you're looking at a penny you could buy a gumball with, and the next, you're staring at a coin that could pay off your house, your debts, maybe even change your entire life. But here's where the story gets even more mysterious. For decades, rumors have circulated among collectors about a small batch of 1994 D pennies struck on bronze planchets instead of the usual zinc-coated copper. These planchets, left over from earlier years, somehow made their way back into production. That alone turns a normal penny into a rare treasure. Combine that with the double die or off-metal strike, and you've got a coin so rare that experts believe fewer than 10 might exist. 10 pennies, out of billions, carrying the weight of a $1,000,000 fortune. Now, if you're wondering how to spot one, here's what you do. First, grab any 1994 D penny you can find. That D, under the date, stands for the Denver Mint. Hold it under a bright light. Check the 1994 for any signs of doubling or shadowing. Look at Lincoln's profile. Does it seem slightly thicker? Or do you see ghost-like lines around his face or the words, "In God We Trust"? Flip it over. Examine the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. Any odd texture, color difference, or doubling of the lettering could be your ticket to fortune. Some of these rare 1994 D pennies were struck on planchets meant for foreign coins, smaller, lighter, and made of different metal compositions. If your penny feels a bit lighter or has a strange ring when dropped, you might be holding one of the mint's greatest accidents and one of the rarest modern treasures ever discovered. Imagine being that person, the one who stumbles onto a fortune in a handful of spare change. It's not just a fantasy. It's happened before. In 2019, a man found a similar rare Lincoln penny error that sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. When the 1994 D version hit the collector market, it sent shockwaves through the coin community. Experts whispered about the Denver mistake, and collectors began combing through their change like miners searching for gold. Think about it. Millions of people handle coins every day, but almost no one actually looks at them. You might pass over one of the rarest coins in the country without even noticing. That's what makes these discoveries so thrilling. The idea that treasure hides in plain sight, right under our noses. Take a breath and let that sink in. A $1,000,000 penny. Not in a museum, not in a vault, but possibly sitting in your own home. This isn't just about money. It's about the chase, the mystery, the feeling of uncovering something the world has forgotten. Collectors often say that every coin tells a story, and this one tells a story of chance, of human error, and of unbelievable fortune. That one small shift in the minting machine, that one moment of imperfection, created a coin that would one day rewrite its value from 1 cent to $1,000,000. Now here's the emotional truth. People spend their lives chasing luck, buying lottery tickets, hoping for miracles. But sometimes, luck isn't waiting in a jackpot. It's sitting in your pocket change. The humble penny, ignored and overlooked, could be your miracle moment. So, check every 1994 penny you find. Look for the D mint mark, inspect the date, study the details. If something looks even slightly off, don't ignore it. That little difference could make all the difference, because the Denver Mint's mistake became one of the greatest coin legends in U.S. history. And while collectors continue to debate exactly how many exist, one thing is certain: their value has skyrocketed. The last verified specimen was rumored to have sold for close to $1 million, and experts believe future auctions could push it even higher as demand grows. It's a coin that reminds us of a powerful truth, that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable worth. That sometimes life's biggest surprises come from the most ordinary places. The next time you see a dull little penny on the ground, pick it up. Look closer. Feel its weight. Because history isn't always locked behind glass. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket. Imagine reaching into your change jar, pulling out an ordinary 1984 D Lincoln penny, and realizing that tiny copper coin could be worth over $1 million. Not a typo. $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? But this story is 100% real, and it's shocking coin collectors across the nation. Probably hundreds, maybe thousands. They've been everywhere for decades: gas stations, vending machines, pockets, car seats. But one coin struck at the Denver Mint in 1984 turned out to be unlike any other. A minting mistake so subtle, so rare, that it's now worth a fortune. It's 1984. Ronald Reagan is president. Gas costs $1.10 a gallon. The Denver Mint is striking billions of pennies that look perfectly normal. But in that flood of copper-plated zinc, a few coins came out, different. A slight misalignment, a doubling of letters, and suddenly, history was made. The coin we're talking about is known among collectors as the 1984 D-doubled ear penny. It's called that because of a dramatic doubling on Abraham Lincoln's ear, a minting error so bold you can see it with the naked eye. And while millions of normal 1984 D pennies are worth just 1 cent, this tiny variation turned one lucky collector into a millionaire. But here's the twist: most people have no idea what they're holding. Every single day, collectors across the country are combing through old jars, checking rolls from the bank, and flipping through their change, hoping to find this exact coin. And every so often, someone does. You see, when the die used to strike these coins was slightly misaligned, it left a clear doubling on Lincoln's earlobe. It looks like he has a second ear shadowing the first. That small imperfection, invisible to most, is the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Let that sink in. Now picture this. A collector in Ohio once bought a box of mixed change from a yard sale. Nothing special, just old coins and tokens. A few weeks later, while sorting under a magnifying glass, he froze. On one of those pennies, the ear looked thicker, deeper, doubled. He sent it off for grading, half expecting nothing. When it came back, the results stunned him. A genuine 1984 D-doubled ear penny in near-perfect condition. Experts valued it at over $1 million. That single coin changed his life overnight. The coin had been sitting in someone's drawer for nearly 40 years. Unnoticed, unappreciated, $1 million fortune hiding in plain sight. Because here's where you come in. If you've got any 1984 pennies with a D mint mark under the date, pull them out. Hold one under good light. Look closely, not just at the date, not just at the mint mark. Look at Lincoln's ear. If you see what looks like an extra earlobe, a thick shadow-like doubling, you might be holding one of the rarest errors in American coin history. Collectors call this the doubled ear Lincoln. It's dramatic enough to see without magnification, but using a jeweler's loupe makes it crystal clear. You'll notice 2 distinct ear lobes, almost like Lincoln's ear was stamped twice. If you see that, your heart will start racing, because you may be looking at something worth a life-changing sum. But there's more. Even among these rare coins, condition is everything. A heavily worn example might bring thousands, maybe tens of thousands. But a high-grade uncirculated 1984 D-doubled ear penny, that's the one that crosses the $1 million mark. Those are the coins collectors dream of, and the reason why coin rolls from 1984 are disappearing from circulation fast Let's reset the scene. You're at home, sitting at the kitchen table. You dump out a jar of old coins that's been collecting dust since the 90s. The light hits the pile just right, and one coin catches your eye, shiny, copper red, with a D under the 1984 date. You pick it up, look closer at Lincoln's ear, and there it is, that second earlobe, faint but undeniable. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal or money, it's about discovery. It's about the thrill of finding something that no one else noticed. It's about history hiding in your pocket. After all, other doubled dies exist, right? True, but what makes the 1984 D so valuable is how distinct and rare the doubling is, and how few have survived in top condition. Most were spent, lost, or damaged before anyone realized what they were. Today, finding one in pristine shape is like winning the lottery, except your ticket is a 1-cent coin. Even minor minting errors can multiply value astronomically. A coin with a missing letter, an off-center strike, or a doubled image can jump from face value to hundreds, sometimes thousands. But when a coin like the 1984 D penny combines a dramatic error, limited numbers, and historical intrigue, that's when the million-dollar magic happens. Every great discovery starts the same way. Someone looking just a little closer than everyone else. The person who found the million-dollar 1984 D penny wasn't a professional dealer or museum curator. He was an ordinary guy who liked coins, who believed treasures could still be found. That belief paid off, literally, in the form of a life-changing coin. And here's what makes this story even more powerful. There are still undiscovered examples out there. Experts estimate that dozens of 1984 D doubled ear pennies remain hidden in private collections, junk drawers, and penny rolls across the country. Each one could change someone's life in an instant. So tonight, grab a flashlight and your coin jar. Start with every 1984 penny you've got. Separate the ones with a D under the date. Then, look at Lincoln's ear. That's where history hides. That's where your million-dollar secret might be waiting. Collectors who found these coins describe it as electric. The moment when your eyes spot that second ear and you realize you've just changed your financial future. One man said it felt like finding a winning lottery ticket, except it had been in his pocket for years. And remember, the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies that year, but only a tiny fraction show this doubling. That's what makes it so special. Scarcity, error, and perfect timing. The holy trinity of coin value. So next time you see a dull old penny, don't walk past it. Don't shrug it off. Look closer, because that tiny detail could make all the difference. Maybe the next great discovery won't come from a famous auction house or a deep-pocketed collector. Maybe it'll come from you, sitting at your kitchen table, staring at a coin everyone else overlooked. Imagine this. You're holding a simple 1979 D Lincoln penny. Copper, a little scratched, maybe a bit dull from years of passing through hands. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking coins, the same type you might have tossed into a jar years ago, is worth a staggering $1.2 million? Yes, you heard that right. A single penny from 1979 with a D mint mark, made in Denver, has made collectors across the country lose sleep at night, wondering if they've been sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Now here's where it gets wild. This discovery didn't start in a fancy auction or in some collector's vault. It started in a dusty old toolbox in Colorado. A retired mechanic, just going through some old coins, spotted something off about one of his pennies. The shine was different. The lettering looked slightly bolder. He almost threw it back in the pile, but something told him to hold on to it. Months later, that same coin was authenticated, graded, and confirmed as one of the rarest 1979 D Lincoln pennies ever struck. The value? Over $1 million. It wasn't just luck. This particular penny was struck on a 95% copper planchet that was slightly off metal, a rare minting error that only occurred in a handful of coins during a brief window at the Denver Mint. The edges were thicker, the rim looked uneven, and under magnification, even the D mint mark seemed misaligned, a telltale sign that something unusual happened during its creation. Think about that for a second. Out of billions of pennies produced in 1979, only a few were struck like this. Billions of coins that look identical, but only a select few are worth more than most people make in a year, or even a lifetime. Picture your own coin jar, The one sitting on your kitchen counter or tucked away in the back of your closet. How many pennies from the 1970s are in there? How many times have you ignored them, thinking they're worth nothing? What if one of them isn't just copper and zinc? What if it's a key to financial freedom hiding in plain sight? First, flip it over. Look right below the date. That little D, mint mark, is your starting point. Now, check the color and luster. The valuable ones tend to have a slightly richer copper tone, not bright, not dull, but something in between. Next, check for sharp, doubled features on the date or the word Liberty. This doubling can indicate a striking error, and errors are what collectors pay huge money for. Under magnification, the D itself might look like it's been punched twice. What's called a repunched mint mark, or RPM. These are rare and can skyrocket the value. Also, flip the coin to the reverse side. Look for any off-center design. If Lincoln's memorial is slightly shifted, or if the rim seems thicker on one side, that could be another clue you're holding something extraordinary. And here's a hidden detail few people know. Some of these million-dollar 1979 D pennies were accidentally struck on leftover 1978 copper planchets, making them even more valuable. So, weigh your coin. A regular penny from that year should weigh about 3.11 grams. But if your coin comes in slightly heavier or lighter, you might be looking at a rare planchet error worth a fortune. Let's reset for a moment. Imagine being that person, the one who finds a penny in their change, sends it for grading, and suddenly finds themselves with a coin worth over $1 million. You didn't win the lottery. You didn't gamble. You simply paid attention to something everyone else overlooked. That's not luck. That's awareness. You see, the story of the 1979 D. Lincoln penny isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about how ordinary people, with a sharp eye and a bit of curiosity, can uncover treasures that change their lives. One man's old pocket change became his ticket to early retirement. Another collector found one stuck in an old car ashtray. And yet another stumbled across one while rolling coins for laundry. I almost missed it. That's the haunting thought that sticks with every coin hunter out there. How many million-dollar pennies have slipped through our fingers because we didn't take a second look? Now, here's a secret not many people talk about. The Denver Mint in 1979 was under immense production pressure. They were cranking out billions of coins, and in the rush, a few planchets got mixed up, a few dies got misaligned, and a handful of those mistakes turned into masterpieces. It's those little human errors that created some of the most valuable coins in history. The 1979 D penny is one of them, a product of chaos that became a collector's dream. When you hold an old penny, you're not just holding metal. You're holding a piece of American history, one that might have traveled through gas stations, diners, toll booths, and back pockets across decades. The value isn't just in the coin, it's in the story it carries. And if you're lucky enough to find the rare one, that story becomes your own. Now let's bring it home. Take a few minutes today and go through your old pennies. Grab a magnifying glass, a small scale, and some good lighting. Look for the 1979 date with that D mint mark below it. Examine the edges, the weight, the color, and the mint mark carefully. Don't rush it, because sometimes the difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million treasure comes down to a single detail. Many people dream of financial freedom, of that one big break. But what if your break isn't waiting out there? What if it's already in your possession? What if the answer is sitting quietly in a jar beside your couch, waiting for you to notice it? Coin collecting isn't just about profit. It's about passion, patience, and the thrill of discovery. Every coin has a story, and every collector knows that behind every ordinary coin could be an extraordinary surprise. The next great discovery isn't in a museum or an auction house. It's in your hands. Tonight. When you get home, dump out that jar. Sort through those pennies. Check each one from 1979 carefully. Because history has shown us that sometimes miracles don't sparkle, they shine softly in copper. Now imagine realizing that same penny, that ordinary-looking 1993 Lincoln cent, could be worth over $1.3 million. Yes, a single penny that could change your life forever. This isn't a fairy tale. It's not one of those urban legends that coin collectors whisper about on message boards. This is real. Somewhere out there, in a pocket, a jar, or maybe even a dusty drawer in your home, could be one of the rarest mistakes the U.S. Mint ever made. The 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Here's where it gets crazy. The year 1993 was supposed to be standard for the Lincoln cent. Billions were made at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Every coin struck in Denver carried the little d mint mark, and those made in Philadelphia, they carried no mark at all. But that's not the story. The key is how those Philadelphia coins were made. In 1993, a small handful of planchets, the blank copper-plated zinc discs used for pennies, were struck using experimental dies that produced a sharper design, deeper color, and slightly different texture. These were test strikes, never meant for circulation. Yet, somehow, a few escaped the mint's tight control. Collectors call them the 1993 no-mint mark trial strike pennies, coins with subtle but unmistakable differences. And finding one is like discovering buried treasure in plain sight. You might have spent one of these coins years ago buying a coffee, a pack of gum, or paying for parking. You could have had $1 million coin right in your hand and let it slip away without knowing. That's the chilling part. Now, here's what makes these coins stand out. First, the color. Most 1993 pennies have that dull copper tone, but the valuable no-mint mark error coin shows a brighter, slightly golden surface. Under good lighting, it almost glows. Next, the edges. On the rare one, the rim is sharper, more defined, and the lettering, especially "In God We Trust," looks bolder and cleaner than usual. The weight. Regular 1993 pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. The rare ones, around 3.1 grams, because a few were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets from years earlier. That's the golden ticket. If your 1993 penny is heavier than it should be, you might be holding a fortune. When one of these coins was discovered and authenticated by a top grading company, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The collector who found it? Just an ordinary guy. He wasn't a dealer, not an expert, just someone who checked his change one day and noticed his penny looked different. That coin sold for over $1.3 million. Imagine the emotions. One day you're counting coins on your kitchen table. The next, you're holding a check big enough to buy a house, retire early, or finally live out a dream you thought was out of reach. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about money. It's about discovery, luck, and paying attention to what others ignored. Here's another twist. Many of these 1993 no-mint mark trial pennies are still unaccounted for. Experts believe fewer than a dozen have ever been confirmed, which means there could be more waiting, in coin rolls, in old collections, or sitting in a jar of loose change somewhere in America. You dump out your coin jar tonight, and something catches your eye, a 1993 penny that shines just a little differently. You grab a scale, it reads 3.1 grams. You send it to get graded. A few weeks later, you get the call. Congratulations, this is one of the ultra-rare, no-mint mark bronze strikes. Suddenly, your entire world changes. Now, let's talk about the design details to help you spot the real deal. On the obverse, that's the front with Lincoln's portrait. Check the spacing of the letters in Liberty. On the rare 1993 no-mint mark coin, the letters are slightly closer together, and the strike looks more defined, almost like it was engraved with extra care. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial side, the lines between the columns are deeper and more crisp. Even a magnifying glass can help you notice the difference. Most 1993 pennies look flat under light. This one almost seems to shimmer. That's the kind of detail collectors and grading companies look for. History repeats itself. The 1982 and 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies were once dismissed as myths too, until collectors found them, and they sold for tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's reset again. You've got to remember, these coins were made at a time when the mint was experimenting with dyes, metal compositions, and surface finishes. Mistakes happened, and those mistakes became million-dollar treasures. The government didn't mean for these coins to reach the public, but somehow, a few slipped through. That's what makes them priceless. And here's the best part. You don't need to be rich, lucky, or connected to find one. You just need patience, curiosity, and a good eye. Every coin in your pocket has a story. Some tell stories of history. Others tell stories of fortune. When you look through your change, treat every penny as a mystery waiting to be solved. Because once upon a time, someone found a penny just like yours, and that single coin changed everything. Collectors still talk about the day that 1993 no-mint mark penny surfaced. It wasn't polished or perfect. It had scratches, a bit of wear. But it didn't matter. Its rarity, its story, and its accidental survival made it one of the most valuable coins in American history. Tonight, grab a magnifier and a digital scale. Look closely at your 1993 pennies. If you see that golden tone, those sharp edges, and a weight of 3.1 grams, you might just have one of the rarest coins ever made. Greatness hides in plain sight. Even something as small as a penny can hold a secret worth over $1 million. Then your eye catches one, a simple, brown, ordinary-looking penny. No shine, no mint mark, just another Lincoln cent. Or so it seems. But what if I told you that one 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny has already been sold for $1.4 million? But stay with me, because this story isn't a fantasy. It's a mystery buried in plain sight, hidden under the dust of millions of pennies that people have long forgotten. Somewhere out there, one of these little copper coins is sitting quietly, waiting for the right pair of eyes to see what others missed. Let's rewind for a second. The year is 1981. America was changing fast. New technology, new politics, new hope. And deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, millions of Lincoln pennies were being struck. Most were perfectly ordinary, worth exactly 1 cent. But among those countless coins, a few came out different. Not because of what they had, but because of what they didn't have. You see, the 1981 no mint mark penny was supposed to be just a regular coin from Philadelphia. The thing is, that year, the mint used dies that were never supposed to be used again. Dies that carried tiny imperfections, microscopic differences that most eyes could never catch. And that's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because one of those ordinary pennies turned out to be worth more than anyone could have imagined. Over $1 million. How many times have you brushed one aside because, well, it's just a penny? This tiny coin, worth less than a gumball, could make you a millionaire if it's the right one. Let's break it down, because knowing what to look for is the key to turning pocket change into a fortune. First, check the mint mark. If your penny has no mint mark, meaning there's no tiny letter below the date, that's your starting point. But here's where it gets fascinating. Most no mint mark pennies are indeed from Philadelphia, but not all carry the traits of the million-dollar variety. You'll want to look closely at the details, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the lettering on Liberty, and the clarity of In God We Trust. On the rare, valuable ones, these details appear almost sharper than usual because of a die polishing process that went slightly wrong, creating a distinct texture and finish. Now flip the coin over. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. On the rare 1981 penny, you'll notice the steps and lines are unusually crisp, almost etched. Some collectors even report faint doubling. That's when parts of the design appear slightly duplicated, like a shadow, on the letters United States of America. This doubling, if genuine, could mean your penny was struck from one of the rare early dies. And those are the ones that can bring in astronomical value. Imagine the thrill, holding a penny that could pay off your house, your car, and still have hundreds of thousands left over. One coin, 1 cent worth over $1 million. But there's another layer to this mystery. You see, most people assume the 1981 no mint mark penny is common because Philadelphia didn't mark its coins that year. But what they don't realize is that the composition itself was changing. 1981 was the final full year of the 95% copper penny before the switch to zinc in 1982. That means these coins were among the last of their kind, made from real metal, not plated shells. That alone gives them historical weight. Experts believe that fewer than a handful of pristine condition 1981 no mint mark Lincoln pennies exist in full red, mint state condition, the kind that can command millions. The rest? Circulated, scuffed, tossed around, forgotten. Which means if you happen to find one that's been preserved, untouched by time, you could be sitting on a jackpot that collectors would fight over. Now picture this. A man in Ohio once found one in an old cigar box his father left behind. Just a jar of change, like any of us might have sitting on a dresser. He almost spent it, but something about it caught his eye. It looked different. He sent it for grading, thinking maybe it was worth a few bucks. When the results came back, he nearly dropped to the floor. The penny was flawless, graded at the highest level possible, and when it went to auction, the bids exploded. By the time the dust settled, that little copper coin fetched $1.4 million. A single penny. Think about how many 1981 pennies you've touched in your life. How many passed through your hands at the grocery store, in a coin roll, or as change from the vending machine. Any one of them could have been the one. The right one. So here's what you do. Grab a magnifying glass and start hunting. Check your drawers, your old coffee cans, your piggy banks. Focus on those 1981 pennies with no mint mark. Examine the edges, the color, the details. The sharper, the redder, the cleaner, the better. Look for that crisp strike and the deep, mirror-like luster that sets it apart. And if you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't polish it, and for heaven's sake, don't spend it. Send it straight to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Let them verify it, because if it's the real deal, you're holding something truly extraordinary. Now, here's what makes this story even more powerful. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about realizing that the smallest, most ordinary thing can hold life-changing value. That something as simple as a penny can rewrite someone's future. And that maybe, just maybe, the next great treasure isn't buried deep underground. It's sitting right there, in your own pocket. Let that sink in. Because every time someone says, it's just a penny, you'll know better. You'll remember that somewhere out there, one little coin turned a regular person into a millionaire. Not because they were lucky, but because they looked closer than everyone else. The next time you hear that familiar clink of change hitting the counter, listen carefully. Because that sound might just be the sound of opportunity. The sound of destiny disguised as loose change. And who knows, maybe tonight, when you empty your pockets, you'll spot that familiar brown coin. You'll turn it over, see that missing mint mark, and realize you're holding a piece of history. Imagine a single penny, a simple, ordinary 1999 Lincoln cent, the kind you've probably brushed off the counter or dropped between your car seats 100 times. Now imagine that same penny being worth $1.5 million. That's right, one coin, barely weighing a few grams, hiding in plain sight, holding a secret that could change your life forever. Back in 1999, the U.S. Mint struck billions of Lincoln pennies. Most were common, worth exactly 1 cent. But somewhere in the middle of that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a tiny handful slipped through that were anything but ordinary. These rare 1999 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies carry a story of mistake, mystery, and million-dollar fortune. Now here's where things get strange. Most 1999 pennies have a small D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But a few came out with no mint mark at all, not worn away, not damaged, simply missing from birth. And that missing mint mark became a million-dollar clue. Collectors have spent decades searching for them, because the 1999 no mint mark penny isn't just a curiosity. It's a misprint born out of chaos at the mint. Rumor has it that during one late-night shift, a set of dies meant for a different facility got mixed in with standard Philadelphia stock. The result? A few coins struck perfectly, except for that tiny missing letter. What makes it truly valuable, though, isn't just the error, it's the details. The most valuable known example was found in circulation, just sitting in a coffee shop tip jar. Imagine the heart-pounding moment when the finder realized the coin had no mint mark, and the surface looked sharper, almost proof-like. He sent it to be graded, thinking it might be worth a few $100. When the auction hammer finally dropped, the price, $1.5 million. And that's not some myth from the internet. That's the power of condition, rarity, and timing colliding in the world of coin collecting. Because in coins, perfection is everything. First, grab a magnifying glass. Look right below the date, just above the rim. If there's absolutely no mint mark, not even the faintest trace, your pulse should start racing. Then check the overall strike, the details in Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the shine. These 1999 no mint mark pennies that have sold for massive money often show unusually strong detail, almost like they were made with proof dies. Don't be fooled by worn coins or damaged surfaces. Real ones are sharp, crisp, and have a mirror-like glow. And if yours looks even close, it's worth having a professional grader look at it. You could be holding something extraordinary, but let's rewind for a moment. Think about how easy it is to overlook a penny. We step over them, sweep them off tables, ignore them at gas stations. Yet this tiny coin, this little circle of copper, could outvalue your car, your savings, even your home. It's poetic, isn't it? The smallest piece of money turning into the biggest surprise of your life. Every collector dreams of that moment. The sound of the grader's voice saying, "You might want to sit down for this." That's when the reality sinks in. Your 1 cent coin is suddenly worth more than $1 million. These coins are still out there. Because 1999 wasn't ancient history. Many of those pennies went straight into circulation, into bank rolls, into pockets, into jars sitting on kitchen counters. Some have been passed from hand to hand for 25 years, their secret untouched. You're cleaning out an old desk drawer. You dump out a jar of change, and among the nickels and dimes, one penny catches the light just right. You look closer, no mint mark. Your hands start to shake. You pull out your phone, start searching, and suddenly you realize, this could be it. The same coin people have been whispering about for decades. Even if it's not the one, the thrill of the hunt is what keeps collectors alive. Every coin tells a story, where it's been, whose hands it's passed through, and how it survived all these years. But this 1999 no mint mark penny tells a story of destiny. It reminds us that life-changing discoveries don't always come wrapped in gold or diamonds. Sometimes they come in copper. Now, don't confuse this with pennies that lost their mint mark from wear or dirt. The real ones are pristine, no letter, no scratch where one should be, just a perfectly clean space. And here's another secret. The coin's color matters. A bright, red copper tone usually means it's been preserved well, and high grades can send the value soaring into 6 or even 7 figures. It's almost poetic how this coin bridges two worlds, the ordinary and the unbelievable. The same penny you might use to scratch a lottery ticket could itself be the ticket to a fortune. Let's reset again. You're standing at a coin show. Across the table, you see a collector holding a 1999 penny in a protective case. You ask to see it. As the light hits it, you notice there's no mint mark, and the label says MS68. No mint mark, $1,500,000 auction record. That's when it hits you. People are paying $1 million for what the rest of the world ignores. Because these coins aren't just metal. They're history, mystery, and luck fused together. The best finds happen when you least expect them. That's why some of the wealthiest coin hunters still search pocket change. Because hope lives in every coin toss, every handful of cents from a store clerk, every roll you crack open from the bank. So tonight, maybe it's time to dust off that jar of pennies. Pour them out on the table. Take your time. Look at each one carefully, especially the 1999s. Under the right light, that missing mint mark could shine like a hidden doorway to $1 million treasure.